starting with the presentation. My name is Álvaro Salamanca, Senior Project Manager at GNE Finance, and we are part of the Low2High project. And specifically, our company is in charge of developing the financial analysis for the 10 pilots we are supporting for the renovation of the 10 district heating sites we are supporting. So we wait a couple of minutes more. I'm sharing my screen again in order to showing you the recording consent and data protection notice. "31 people. I will start."
Alvaro, 1 minute. We would like kindly introduce
1
you.
minute. Okay.
So good morning, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 5th Capacity Building webinar of the Low2High District Heating Project on the topic Core Financial Concepts and Analytical Approaches for District Heating Site Renovations. Speaker is Álvaro Salamanca from the GNE Finance. Welcome, Álvaro, and floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Martina Busan. For the last ones entering into the webinar, I'm Álvaro Salamanca, Senior Project Manager at GNE Finance, and we are part of the Low2High Consortium, working on the financial analysis for the district heating site renovations of 10 pilots, plus the support of other 20 site replicants. Today, we have a comprehensive webinar where we are going to touch too many concepts, different analytical approaches when we are talking about financing your renovations. And we don't expect from you to after this webinar to have high financial literacy on all these aspects, because as you will see, all the topics we are going to explain. For example, in other projects, in other service contracts, we are using 1 full day for each of the topics. So the idea today is provide you with general concepts, with general understanding, and also in order to improve your communication between project managers, financial officers from the promoter companies, if the promoter is a municipality, a public company, private entity, etc. I will go deeper into this aspect. There are some housekeeping rules that are not like super important. Some of them, if for example you want to keep your camera on, it's up to you. It's not gonna distract us. But one of them is like asking you to switch off your camera, in the sense that when there is a segment for Q&A, for questions and answers, like in that moment you can switch on your camera, and all of us will recognize who is speaking, who is asking in the proper moment. So important is to mute your microphone, please. Sometimes I forgot to mute my microphone in webinars, and suddenly someone is ringing, etc., and it's disturbing other people. So please keep your micro off. And most important part of this, of course, you're able to make questions. In principle, we are going to dedicate a 20-minute slot at the end of the webinar for answering your questions. In that moment, it's up to you if you want to write your question on the chat and I will answer the question, or if you want to switch on the camera and we can have kind of a small discussion, it's perfectly valid. Anyways, in any case, as I'm telling you, we are going to present different big topics, different big concepts. So after each part of my presentation, if you want to make a question on the chat, and I consider that this question should be answered in that moment, in order to don't forget what we are talking about, I will make an exception and I will answer this question after that topic. But otherwise, if the question you are writing in the chat during the webinar, I believe that it's going to be answered afterwards while showing you other slides, I will prefer to wait for the end of the webinar. So the agenda for today, as I'm telling you, is, for example, when we are talking about bankability and its importance, we are dedicating a full training day with project promoters, the same with credit risk analysis, financial analysis, and economic analysis. But the idea today is like not to be the most smart person in bankability or credit risk or financial risk. The idea today is if you are the financial officer of your company, of your public entity, etc., it's to provide you some ideas that are relevant for you, for your organization, when creating the project financing structure of your project, when you are deciding how you are finance your project. If you are not the financial officer, if you are the project promoter, you are most on the technical side, all the ideas today are very relevant, not in order like to have the same knowledge as your financial officer, in order to improve the communication with them. Because you all know that now we have to decarbonize Europe, we have to decarbonize our countries, we have to develop too many projects, too many renovations, and sometimes it's not easy. We are using new technologies. We need to find for innovative solutions, alternative solutions that are not always under the traditional way we were renovating our sites. So in this regard, if you are the project promoter, you are more in the technical side, please pay attention on these sites in order to improve this communication between departments and in order to be all aligned in what you are doing. So first of all, what we consider the beginning of this understanding is the concept of bankability. The concept of bankability, okay, as you probably know, your project is bankable if someone wants to invest in it. So in that sense, your project is bankable. Bankability is the ability to attract financing. We are talking about financing. We are talking about loans or equity investors, new investors. We are not talking today about grants, subsidies. But as you are reading here in this short description of bankability, we are talking about different type of investors, commercial banks, development banks, or private investors. So the first question I'm arising now is, do you think that the concept of bankability is the same for a commercial traditional bank as for a development bank or for a private investor? No. The answer is no. They are looking for different benefits when dealing with you, when making a business with you. So in this regard, this concept is very important because when you are creating the project financing structure for your renovations, after you understand what's the better financing structure, you will be able to negotiate or with a commercial bank or with a development bank or private investors or international financing institutions like the EIB, the European Investment Bank, etc. So depending on how your project is built in a financial way, you will be able to attract finance from different type of investors. So in this regard, here in this slide is why it matters. Why it matters? Bankability, because it provides access to financing. But to which finance? To which kind of financing? From who? And everything will depend on your project. Of course, when your project is bankable, there are other benefits for you. For the future, it's enabling replicability. Okay, it facilitates if you are a public company or you have to justify to your regional authorities your project to get grants, to get loans from a European program, etc. Of course, it matters because of that. But the main purpose here is to access to financing. In this regard, next slide. In this regard, when you are analyzing, you have to analyze it. You have to analyze how can I make my project bankable? How? So first of all, we start with two concepts. There are two concepts that you have to consider. My credit worthiness, I'm credit worthy enough, like me as promoter, as a company, as a public body. Someone is going to give me money. They are thinking that I will repay the loan or I will remunerate investors. This is the first concept, like a promoter. But the other concept is related to your project itself. Like isolating your project, you have to ask yourself, is my project viable? Can I proceed with the project, not only from the technical view, but let me check. Can we, Martina, can we mute that? And I will continue. Thank you. So these two concepts should be the beginning. And these two concepts are making the next steps when you are defining the project financing structure. Before going ahead, project financing structure, because I'm always repeating these three words, the project financing structure is the combination of funds, grants, loans, equity, or if you go for a public-private partnership, is all this combination of funds you are making to make your project real from the financial point of view. This is project financing structure. Coming from these two concepts, those are the approaches we are explaining today. Coming from the promoter creditworthiness, external financiers are going to make a credit risk analysis of you. They are going to analyze you. They are going to decide if you are able to pay a loan, if you are able to remunerate an investor. And coming from the concept of your project, if your project is viable, there are two other analyses that you have to perform. One of them is a financial analysis, what we are doing in the Low2High project with our pilots and supporting our replicants. And the other one is an economic analysis, but don't confuse the word economic with money. This analysis is different. It's not about money only. We will see this analysis in the next chapters of the webinar. So this credit risk analysis, in the end, is relevant for everyone. No one is going to give you money, give you a loan, invest on you if they think you are not going to repay the debt. If they think, in most of the cases, of course, there are exceptions, if they think that you are not going to remunerate them. So this credit risk analysis is relevant for everyone. If after a credit risk analysis, an entity decides you that your solvency is 0, you are not going to repay a loan, etc., okay, you should focus on other funding sources like grants or like your own money. But in this regard, if you are not solvent enough, if you are not credit worthy, okay, now it's a way to see how I should fund my project, not with these loans, not with these investors, etc. The financial analysis, you as project promoters, you have to carry out this financial analysis. And this financial analysis is always relevant for commercial banks, private investors, traditional investors, and some EU programs. It's relevant for them because a commercial bank, if you are asking for a lot of money and, okay, your credit risk analysis is positive, but they analyze your project itself, your project isolated, and your project will show negative numbers, like super difficult to generate enough cash flows, etc. It's like you have to start a negotiation with them or looking for other funders. These other funders could be development banks, international financial institutions, ESG investors, and all EU programs. With this economic analysis you can carry out, you can demonstrate like, okay, my project is not generating enough revenues by itself, but I'm credit worthy. My credit risk analysis was positive. Okay, so I know that as my project is not a project generating profit. Okay, let's go to other financial institutions. Let's go to other type of investor. Let's go to other type of banks. They are looking for other things. They are looking for your impact to the society. There are no questions yet. Okay, before going to the 3 analytical approaches, this is a generic view of different stages when you are making a renovation, etc. In this webinar and in the next webinar, we are here. We are in the initiation phase. For example, in the Low2High project, we are making, our colleagues from Creara are developing a market analysis where they are analyzing the historical data, forecast, etc., about heat consumption, etc. They are analyzing competitors, etc. Our colleagues from LEI, CAPE, and STUBA are carrying out this technical viability. They are analyzing this technical viability. In this technical viability, they are analyzing which technologies are the most suitable for the renovation. But this economic analysis, this financial analysis, the credit risk is the analysis is not made by you. This economic analysis and this financial analysis could be done together at the same time with this market analysis, with this technical analysis. Everything should be interconnected, and we will see why. After that, after you already perform this market analysis, technical, economic, financial, in the end, you are deciding your project financing structure according to the funding landscape we have in Europe. In the next webinar, we will be working on this funding landscape, on all these European programs and not European programs, private financing, private funds, etc. Okay, no questions for the time being. Okay, credit risk analysis. As I told you, you are not going to perform this analysis. This analysis is going to be performed for the entity is giving you the money, is giving you a loan or an investor that is analyzing you. In this credit risk analysis, of course, they are going to focus on your repayment capacity. This is the main focus. Can they repay me? Yes or not? They will analyze too many things, as we will see, too many aspects of your company. But this analysis is focused on your company. But also they are going to analyze or recommend you risk mitigation instruments. We are talking about securities, guarantees, covenants, etc. And this is important for you when you are asking for a loan, to consider, in case of default, how you would pay that loan. And you should tell them when you are asking for a loan. They are making the analysis. They are analyzing all your company, but you have to provide them with information. You have to be ready to tell them, hey, I want a loan. Those are my numbers in the last 5 years, my balance sheet, my P&L, etc. But also on top of that, I'm offering you this mitigation instrument. This is how I control my risk. This is how I control the situation where I could be in default, not paying the loan. The borrowers, typical borrowers in urban projects are government institutions, public authorities, public companies, but also private entities. So in this regard, like, okay, you don't have to carry out this analysis, but you have to carry out internally kind of a small credit risk analysis. Before going to that small credit risk analysis that we recommend you to develop, because I forgot this, there is one slide more here. For example, those are the risks that a financier is analyzing when they are lending money. They are analyzing political risk. Of course, as you can imagine, political risk are risks related to the situation we are experiencing now in Ukraine, in Iran, etc. Those are political risks, but there are much more. Quasi-political risk, macroeconomic risk. The fourth one, maybe I should have put that one in the first one, your capacity to pay back the loan. This is the first thing they are analyzing. And there are all the risks that they are analyzing, like reputational risk, risk related to the institutional framework. And in cases you are creating a public-private partnership, you are carrying out your project with another company, another private company, maybe they will extend their credit analysis to that company as well, not only to you. But in this regard, you can ask me, but Alvaro, why you are telling me that I have to make kind of credit risk analysis to know? I don't go to the next slide. To know your capability to get a new loan. You need to know, is my company able to ask for a new loan? This is the first analysis you have to do. And this is what we are doing without considering all these risks in the Low2High project. Here, I'm putting in the next 3 slides how we made this solvency analysis, because we cannot call it credit risk analysis because we are only analyzing some ratios. But you as a company, at least, or you as a promoter or as authority, at least analyze your balance sheet in the last year, your P&L, your accounts. Analyze them. In that regard, after you are analyzing yourself, you will get to the conclusion, okay, according to my profitability ratios, I'm analyzing. According to the evolution of my indebtedness ratios, these ratios we are analyzing in the last 2 years in the pilots we are supporting. Or according to my liquidity ratio, according to all this analysis, okay, now I'm sure that I can go to a bank, I can go to a development bank, I can go to an ESG investor to try to convince them to fund my project. Because I know that if I go to a bank, according to my ratios, of course, it's not 100% sure, but I know that my position is a strong position to ask for a loan. So that's why coming back is like, okay, credit risk analysis. You are not going to do this analysis. This analysis is going to be made by external financiers in order for them to know if they want to pay, to give you money in the form of a loan or equity, etc. But at least you try to analyze your solvency. We will see why in the next section. So we saw the credit risk analysis. The credit risk analysis is for you as a promoter, as an entity. But the next 2 analyses, please remember, that are related to your project. And please remember that, as we said in the beginning of the webinar, if your financial analysis, the financial analysis of your project shows results that are not very engaging for a commercial bank or a traditional investor, you should look for other alternatives with other type of financiers like development banks, European Investment Bank, etc., because they are not focusing on your project, financially speaking, in terms of profitability. They are focusing, of course, in the credit risk analysis, but on other aspects that we will see in the economic analysis. So the financial analysis, for us, this is for GNE Finance is not the most important one, because all the analyses are equally important. But the one you have to pay more attention, the one you have to pay more attention As I'm saying, okay, you are analyzing your project, and here you are considering only for your project isolated, everything related to it in economic terms. Your cash flows, the investment cost, operating expenses, revenues, subsidies, but it should have a combination, of course, with your creditworthiness. If you are not creditworthy, your financial analysis is only to get a grant, not to access other type of financing. So coming from here, there's like, we are only highlighting the most relevant topics we were experiencing, not only in the Low2High project, but also in other European projects. We at GNE Finance, we are working with municipalities from all around Europe, with public authorities, also with SMEs, private companies, doing this financial analysis. And the next concepts I'm going to highlight maybe is like very simple concepts, but I'm highlighting them because we need to pay attention when creating our financial analysis, when creating a financial model. These concepts are CAPEX, OPEX, and revenues. CAPEX is capital expenditure. When you are creating a financial model, yes, in a financial analysis, all financial analysis should include this enormous financial model with a lot of graphs, most of the time it's made in Excel with a lot of formulas, a lot of calculations, etc. But the basics for this financial model are CAPEX, OPEX, and revenues. When we are talking about CAPEX, you have to think about the cost of your investment, about the cost of the technology you are going to install, or the technology you are going to renovate or maintain, etc. This is the first step in your financial model. Of course, you are making a forecast. Of course, after you have your financial model, you will start tendering processes, request for quotation, you will accurate the numbers you are including in the CAPEX. But in principle, you have to start more or less calculating the cost. Here, it's not only CAPEX doesn't include only physical assets, but also you have to consider here, or in most of the countries, according to most of the regulations, the feasibility and pre-feasibility studies you are carrying out before starting the renovation, you can include them into the CAPEX in the financial model. There is here another paragraph in the end, and however, but we are running kind of out of time. So that's why I created the presentation first showing only concepts in order for you to listen to me, and then I'm including more text for you later have access to more specificities of everything. OPEX. OPEX, you have to calculate in the financial model your future operating expenses, your future day-to-day cost. They include every cost that is going to be related to the renovation of your site, or is the renovation of one part of the site, etc. Here, when we are talking about OPEX, you have to consider everything: salaries, bank fees, administration, etc. But most important for you, the energy OPEX, the cost of the energy and the energy needed to produce your heat. I'm saying energy, it means electricity or gas or biomass or biofuel, whatever. You have to consider in a financial model, okay, I'm going to install a heat pump that works with electricity to operate it. Of course, I have to count to consider the price of this electricity in my financial model, the amount of electricity this new heat pump is going to consume, or the biomass it's going to consume. And unfortunately, but this is something you have to do, all OPEX components should be incorporated into the financial model with an annual growth factor. It means more or less, but it means inflation. You are creating a model for the next 15 years, for the next 20 years. So the prices you are having now for this gas, this electricity, this biomass are not going to be the same prices as next year, in 10 years, in 15 years. You have to not improvise, but kind of improvise. The decision of the price of this OPEX cost in the future. Of course, you can take into account the market analysis I mentioned before, for the amount of the energy consumed, or if this market analysis is considering the inflation in the coming years, etc. So it should be based, when you are presenting a financial model, all your assumptions should be based on something. Like you cannot say, no, the growth factor is going to be 4%. If you are later presenting this model to a financier, you have to explain why you are considering this 4%. And revenues. This is the third pillar of your financial model. You have to calculate your future revenues. And I know that here is a bit tricky, because you have to consider, in the countries we are working on now, you have to consider the future of your heat tariff, how your heat tariff is going to evolve. We know that every year or every 2 years, every 4 years, you are negotiating with your regulator a new heat tariff according to too many parameters. But when you are doing a financial model, you should have this estimation. You should include this estimation. And of course, a part of the heat tariff is going to be included in the model together with the amount of the heat sold in order to calculate this part of the revenues. But there are other revenues streams that are not coming only for heat, electricity, or warm water sales. Maybe depending on your countries, depending on your regions, you can have, or depending on your companies, you can have revenues from other service fees, other users fees, etc. One thing is important here is that if you are receiving periodically public financial support, like a subsidy every year that it's entering, or it's gonna enter into your project to support whatever, you have to include it in the revenues part of your financial model. These three concepts seem like basic, but are the cornerstone of your project, are the cornerstone of the next steps. You are creating, you have all these concepts, you ask your financial officer, hey, we have to create a financial model, we have to analyze our credit worthiness, etc. Then I put all together and I create a financial model. In a financial model, after I'm putting all together this CAPEX, OPEX, revenues, and if I'm able to get for a loan or not. First of all, in my financial model, I'm going to get my project financing structure, tentative project financing structure. And of course, you are going to get different outputs like the P&L for this project, the cash flows, equity IRR if you have investors, if not only the project IRR, the net present value, etc. But the most important part here is not, now for me, it's not the P&L, cash flows, outputs. the most important part here is the project financing structure. I need to fund this project. How? With these funds. Grants, debt, equity, my own economic resources, a combination of all of them, everything depending on my solvency. And after I'm creating this financial model, I'm going to see if my project is in principle bankable for commercial banks and traditional investors. If my project in principle it's reflecting negative cash flows, negative project IRR, it's like, okay, guys, forget about these commercial banks and these traditional investors. They are not going to fund us. It doesn't matter in most of the cases, it doesn't matter our credit worthiness. It doesn't matter that everything, our project, it's having negative results. And this is very common in public projects. This is very common because in public projects, we are not looking for an economic return. We are looking for the benefits to our society, the benefits to the environment. And under our experience, half of the projects we are creating financial models are in principle not bankable from the point of view of a traditional bank or a traditional investor. So from this moment, from this financial moment is when coming back here, funding landscape, first column, down, funding landscape, feasibility studies, I'm going to create my financial plan. After all this analysis, it's like, okay, now I'm ready to know which funding I'm going to choose, which European program I'm going to access, which type of bank or not, or I can only access to grants according to my credit worthiness, according to my my financial models, etc. So that's why all these steps are very, very important. And in the next webinar, we are going to explore this funding landscape according to the project financing structure we got after we created our financial model. Now I'm finishing 2-3 minutes more because this economic analysis in the Low2High project, we are not carrying out a comprehensive, we are as a consortium, as a comprehensive economic analysis. First of all, because we are dealing with small to medium scale projects. So the types of economic analysis I'm going to show you now, and I'm going to give you the presentation just for your consideration, are more related to large scale projects. But our partners, CAPE, LEI, STUBA, they are doing in their technical analysis, they are doing kind of economic analysis, because in their technical analysis, when they are recommending to our pilots this technical solution, this technology, they are saying in the technical analysis the environmental benefits of this technology. They are explaining with this technology, you are going to reduce your emissions by 10%. You are going to reduce your gas consumption in 40%. You are going to stop using coal. Like, you are going to be able to reach the European agenda for our decarbonization. In the end, they are doing kind of economic analysis in the sense that they are assessing, they are evaluating the environmental impacts of the scenario they are recommending to you, to the pilots, to our pilots. But economical analysis, in general terms, if technically speaking, if we want to be like, I don't know how to say this word in English, like pure, with pure literacy about what an economic analysis is. An economic analysis includes the benefits the project is delivering to the society and to our cities, environmentally speaking. Why this economic analysis is relevant, or at least why part of this economic analysis is relevant? Because when your financial model is not good enough, when your financial analysis is saying that with your project, you are going to have losses, you are going to lose money with your project. Like, okay, with my project, I'm going to lose money, but I'm a municipality, I'm a regional authority. I have other ways to get money because I'm an authority. My credit worthiness is good. Okay, you investor, you don't like my project. Okay, you commercial bank, you don't like my project. Okay, I'm demonstrating to other financiers, to development banks, to international financial institutions, to all European funds and programs and ESG investors that my project is delivering good value to the society. Like my project is like, okay, we are not focusing on financial returns because this is not our purpose. I'm a city, I'm a region, I'm a country. My benefit is not for money. My benefit is for my people, is for my citizens. That's why this economic analysis is very important. If your financial model is not the best, you should pay attention to this economic analysis. And as I told you, when we are talking about large-scale projects, there are three different types of economic analysis: the cost-benefit analysis, cost efficiency or cost effectiveness analysis, and multi-criteria analysis. We in the Low2High project, we are not developing this kind of analysis because are more suitable for large projects involving several dozens of millions. But we believe that in this financial course, to provide you with all the context, we thought that it would be interesting for you to have this information. In principle, if you are developing a small project, you should start with this analysis, this environmental economic analysis that I was referring to the work CAPEX and STUBA are doing in the technical analysis part of the project. Of course, maybe you don't have to carry out no one of these three types of analysis, but maybe if you go to get a loan from the European Investment Bank, from a development bank, from a national bank with better conditions, maybe they will, maybe no, they are, or to a European fund, not maybe, they are going to ask you for kind of economic analysis in the way they want to call it, but they are going to, a development bank is going to ask you, okay, I'm not interested in the revenues your project is generating. okay, I know you are going to pay me the loan, but for me as development bank, for example, the CEB bank, we want to know the benefits your project is giving, is offering to society. I know my project is not offering any benefit. I'm going to increase the heat tariffs. I'm not paying attention to vulnerable people. I'm not paying attention to greenhouse emissions. Okay, you are not interested for this development bank. You are not interested for this European program or for this international financial institutions. But they are going to ask you for kind of economic analysis. Okay, I'm running out 10 minutes late. I told you that there are too many things here in this webinar. So just to let you know, part of the concepts that we are including, but not too many, are included in a deliverable we under the Low2High project created. It's deliverable 2.3. You will have the URL here when you receive the presentation. But this deliverable is more related to the next webinar, to the all funding opportunities, all financial tools you can consider after this previous analysis. You can consider to finance your project or to fund your project. We thought it was relevant to start giving you this resource here, and in the next webinar, I will give you a couple of resources more that are not from the Low2High project, but will be very useful for you. So, Q&A moment. I don't know, when I'm speaking a lot, like today, sometimes there are not too many questions. Maybe it's because it's very early in the morning, or because I spoke a lot, or I don't know. Or maybe the webinar was very well explained, and that's why you don't have questions. But now it's time for you to raise your questions. If not, I'm going to put again my screen. Wait a second. If not, if there are no questions now, here you have my email address. In any case, you can contact your contact points. Martina, Dusan, Justas, Trimantas, Wojciech, Marek, the ones that invited you to the webinar. Okay. Here, first question. Good. What is the approach to financing model for ESCO? That's the purpose of the next webinar. That's the purpose of the next webinar. If you cannot attend the next webinar, that please, Martina, correct me if I'm wrong. It will be the 1st of April. We will address this question, because it's what I'm saying. It's exactly what I'm saying. Sorry for my pronunciation, Muradja. After all this analysis is when we are going to have a clear view of how to create the financing structure for our project. And in this financing structure, we are considering an ESCO. We are considering public-private partnerships with EFO, with other private companies for EPC models, etc. And that's the purpose of the next webinar. Starting the webinar from all funding sources available in Europe and in your countries, and then how to combine these funding sources, and also with the potential inclusion in your project financing structure of an ESCO, and how this ESCO it's integrated into your project. I can advance in order to don't answer your question like, we will see it in the next webinar. For example, when you are half of the cases, or no, most of the cases, when you are considering an ESCO into your financing model, your financing structure, you are reducing your CAPEX. And this is an advantage. This is an option. Maybe you finish your financial model like, oof, I cannot pay this CAPEX. I cannot pay now 10 millions in technology. And according to my model, it's going to be difficult that a commercial bank gives me 10 millions for this. That would be an option. Like, hey, let's think about an ESCO. If an ESCO comes to my project, if I'm open to this public-private partnership, that ESCO can pay the CAPEX or part of the CAPEX. The ESCO can pay the technology, and my financial model, my CAPEX is reduced. Of course, you have to set up the contractual agreements with the ESCO, etc. This is other comprehensive work, but this is how you integrate the ESCO, coming from your financial model. Like, oof, with traditional funding sources, with loans, with equity, or only with grants, I'm not able to carry out this project. I need a private partner. And in that case, this private partner, in most of the cases, they are going to pay for part of your CAPEX. So you are in a better position. It's like, imagine you have a CAPEX of 10 millions, and after you negotiate with an ESCO, your CAPEX is reduced to 2 millions. Okay, now it's easy for me to look for a grant, European grant of 2 millions, and the rest is the responsibility of an ESCO, the responsibility of managing, operating, and paying that CAPEX. I hope I have answered your question, and I promise you that we will see these approaches in the next webinar more in depth than after my answer. No more questions. You're welcome. No more questions. As I was saying, you will have our presentation with my email address. If you have any questions, I'm open, and I happily answer them. If not, from my side is all. We'll see each other in a couple of weeks, 1st of April, for that webinar on project financing structures, combining funds, etc. And I give the floor to Martina and Dusan if they want to add something. Before giving you the floor and I stop talking, thank you very much, Martina, Dusan, Rimantas, Justas, Wojciech, Marek, for disseminating this webinar, for making it happen, for having all these attendees today. There were more than 50 attendees most of the session, so thank you very much for your effort, and thank you if Galina and Lazarina are here from Europe. Thank you very much as well for kind of supporting the coordination to Estuva for this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvaro. I would like also to thank you for your excellent presentation. And dear participants, we appreciate your participation and thank you for your attention. Goodbye.
Have a nice day. Ciao.
Dovidenia, ďakujeme.